The Department of Budget and Management assures there are no onerous deals signed between the Philippines and China during the two-day state visit of President Xi Jinping in the country. Opposition group cites the downside in the joint exploration deal of the Philippines and China in the West Philippine Sea. And the Transportation Department warns to impose sanctions against truckers joining the truck holiday. Good evening. The leaders of the Philippine Congress support the building of the strategic cooperation between the country and China under the Duterte administration. Here's why from Rosalie Cos.
Chinese President Xi Jinping has returned to Beijing after his two-day state visit in the Philippines. But prior to his departure, President Xi met with House Speaker Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, Senate President Vicente Sotto III, and other members of the Congress. House Speaker Arroyo says the Congress supports the Duterte administration in building stronger cooperation between the Philippines and China. Duterte and Xi agreed to have comprehensive strategic cooperation between the two countries.
We support and applaud the approach that Your Excellency and President Duterte are taking, especially as you mentioned it last night, for a strategic and comprehensive relationship. It is similar to the approach to China that I took when I was president.
Arroyo also assures she will promote a comprehensive strategic cooperation of the two countries as board member of the Boao Forum for Asia. During his visit, President Xi also met with some members of the Filipino-Chinese community. Xi is the fourth Chinese chief executive to visit the country since the diplomatic relations of the two countries was formally established in 1975. The delegation of Xi departed the Philippines at past 1 this afternoon. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue.
The Department of Budget and Management assures there are no onerous conditions and deals that were signed by the Philippines and China during President Xi Jinping's two-day state visit in the country. Meanwhile, a political analyst believes that the move of the Philippines to enhance its ties with China is in response to the changing world order. Rosalie Cos tells us why.
The Department of Budget and Management lambasted an alleged alarmist group that criticizes the deals entered into by the Duterte administration with China. Budget Secretary Benjamin Jokno assures that none of the deals with China are onerous or oppressive as each of the agreement passed thorough study and review. Jokno also denies that the Philippines is giving in to China's debt trap in exchange for the country's rights over the disputed territory in the South China Sea.
These are coming from the alarmist group, right? There's no such thing as onerous conditions. We're smart, okay? We're not like other countries, okay? We don't mortgage our territories for a loan that is as straightforward as a railway system, okay? And I said we have a very strict and rigorous process. It has to pass the cut-off of 10% economic internal rate of return, which is much higher than the cost of borrowing, okay?
A total of 29 agreements were signed on Tuesday between the Philippines and China in line with the visit of Chinese President Xi Jinping. Malacanang, however, is yet to release the details of the said deals, but it involves a Memorandum of Understanding on Cooperation on Oil and Gas Development signed by Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Locsin and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. A political analyst, meanwhile, insists that as stated by a jurisprudence of the Supreme Court, no one can question the policy of President Rodrigo Duterte in terms of foreign relations. Attorney James Villasis, research head of the Polytechnic University of the Philippines College of Law, says the strategy of Duterte to intensify the country's relations with China is due to the changing world order.
You have changes in the world order, and we need to react to these changes. At most probably, kung hindi tayo magre-react, then walang mangyayari sa atin kasi merong pagbabago sa world order, so kailangan nating mag-adjust and mag-react sa pagbabagong ito.
Villasis also believes that keeping our traditional allies such as the United States while being close with China is balancing foreign relations with world power. Rosa Licoz, UNTV, News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Senate President Vicente Sotto III urges the public not to easily judge or criticize the agreements signed between the Philippines and China. This is following the opposition's group's sentiments on the alleged drawbacks of these deals. Nel Maribok tells us why.
Members of the opposition group are calling on the Malacanang to divulge the details of the agreements signed by the Philippines and China during the visit of Chinese President Xi Jinping. The group fears that some agreement, particularly the joint exploration of the two countries in the West Philippine Sea, may be disadvantageous to the Philippines.
Doon pa lang sa pagpayag natin ng joint exploration, panalo na sila kaagad. Dahil yung area na kung saan tayo magkaroon ng joint exploration, atin yan, hindi yan kanila.
Kung meron madedehado dyan, ay tayo madedehado dyan.
Former Solicitor General Florin Hilbay also sees negative implications of the agreement on oil and gas exploration with Manila's arbitration victory against China. In 2016, an international court ruled in favor of the Philippines, invalidating China's 9-dash line claim in the disputed waters.
At ang epekto po nun is yung naipanalo natin na titulo, mawawala because of waiver or estoppel.
But Senate President Vicente Sotto III believes otherwise, saying he sensed good intentions from President Xi when he met the Chinese leader earlier.
Sabi niya, sana daw itong South China Sea, West Philippine Sea sa atin, ay maging sea of peace and friendship.
Sotto and Senate Majority Leader Juan Miguel Zubiri also see no problem with the planned oil and gas development of the Philippines and China.
Na kung magkakaroon tayo ng joint exploration, 60-40. 16 Philippines, 40 sa China. Yun yung proposal. At mukha namang acceptable.
It's a win-win solution kasi right now, I think we're in a golden age once again of Philippine-Chinese friendship and relationship. I think we should tap that idea that we should focus on cooperation and friendship.
Some senators, however, stress that the arbitration ruling on the hotly contested maritime areas should not be taken for granted amid negotiations with China.
Ay wag natin kalilimutan rin na nanalo tayo ng arbitration. So, yung mga kasunduan na yan, dapat pumapasok tayo dyan sa puntong tayo ang may-ari niyan.
Pag dumating yung panahon, gagamitin laban sa atin yan, tiyak ko, ng kabilang panig. Na pinabayaan na natin, binitiwan na natin, hinayaan na natin. Hindi man natin mapatupad, importanteng palaging binabanggit natin.
Meanwhile, Presidential Spokesman Salvador Panelo assures that information and necessary documents on the signed deals will be released after these become certified and available. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
The group Bayan Muna urges the Supreme Court to resolve their petition questioning the legality of the joint marine seismic undertakings of China, Vietnam, and the Philippines. The petition against the tripartite agreement was filed 10 years ago during the time of former President and now House Speaker Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. The group claims the agreement violates the Constitution and has adverse and grave effects against the Philippines. Bayan Muna filed the fresh motion a day after the Philippines and China signed a Memorandum of Understanding on oil and gas development in the West Philippine Sea.
Nangangamba kami na itong joint exploration na naman sa China, mababaon sa utang ang Pilipinas at in exchange for corruption-ridden din na mga kontrata. Tuso ang China. Huwag pagkatiwalaan ang Chinese government. Kaya masama ang karanasan natin sa JMSU.
Former Customs Chief Nicanor Faeldon faces new challenges and orders after taking his oath as the new director of the Bureau of Corrections. May Bermudez tells us why.
Former Customs Commissioner and Office of Civil Defense Deputy Administrator Nicanor Faeldon takes his oath as the new director of the Bureau of Corrections. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara administered the oath of Faeldon, who replaces former Philippine National Police Chief Ronald Bato Dela Rosa as Bucor Chief. Before the oath-taking ceremony, Faeldon turned down questions from the media. According to DOJ spokesperson Mark Perete, Faeldon is expected to present his plans for the Bucor in the coming days, following orders to address the problems in the new Bilibid prisons.
He will make a number of announcements about what he plans to do with the Bureau of Corrections in due time after the formal turnover of responsibilities, which would probably happen by early next week.
Perete says Guevara and Faeldon discussed the problems dogging the agency, such as the alleged illegal drug trade, congestion, security in Bilibid, and even the transfer of some Bucor facilities. Perete says the transfer of facilities is aimed at addressing congestion and security in the National Penitentiary, which houses around more than 27,000 inmates, more than double of its total capacity.
By law, I think the maximum facility has been designated to be in Bilibid. Now, because of the congestion and because of certain security concerns, the other facilities would have to be relocated elsewhere. One of the issues discussed is if the transfer is deemed to be appropriate and if there is a suitable place for the relocation, then a lot of the problems on, for example, the alleged trading of illegal drugs in the facility, as well as the congestion, would probably be addressed as well.
Faeldon's appointment was announced last October, but President Rodrigo Duterte only signed his papers on Tuesday. He quit the customs post in 2017 after more than 6 billion pesos worth of shabu slipped past port inspections, triggering congressional inquiries that exposed the system of corruption in the BOC. The Senate even detained Faeldon after he refused to attend follow-up hearings on alleged illegal activities in the agency. After his stint in the BOC, he was appointed by Duterte as Deputy Administrator of the Office of Civil Defense last December 2017. Mai Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The Department of Transportation warns to impose sanctions against trucker groups that are participating in a truck holiday to protest the phase-out of trucks that are more than 15 years old and congestion of empty containers at the Manila port area. Monoxon tells us why.
Truckers and other groups that joined the truck holiday protest in Manila port area may face stiff penalties for disrupting the flow of commerce and delaying the transportation of goods and services. The Department of Transportation warns that anyone who is found to have participated in the protest could face sanctions for causing economic sabotage. The DOTR says it will not hesitate on imposing penalties on truck franchises and private vehicles that disrupted the flow of commerce to and from the Manila port area. But it is ready to withdraw the sanctions if protesting truckers will agree to a dialogue and resume their operations.
Kapag hinarangan mo o pinigil mo yung malayang komersyo sa pantalan, yung paglabas ng mga kargamento, ano ba ang mangyayari, hindi ba? Ang mangyayari diyan, kukulangin ang supply, tataas ang presyo or mawawalan ng supply, at yung lahat ng yung pangangailangan ng ating bayan, ng ating mga kababayan, hindi maibibigay at hindi maipoprovide yung serbisyo.
Truckers kick off their truck holiday on Monday to protest the worsening congestion of empty containers in the port and the planned phase-out of trucks that are more than 15 years old. The DOTR, however, clarifies it will only remove public utility vehicles, including delivery trucks, based on its roadworthiness. To continue operating, the agency says PUVs must pass the Motor Vehicle Inspection System or MVIS.
Kung meron kang isang sasakyan na pampublikong sasakyan na 8-year-old or 5-year-old, kung hindi papasa sa MVIS, kailangan mo nang palitan yan. Pero kung yung sasakyan mo 20-year-old, papasa naman sa MVIS, tuloy pa rin yung paggagamit mo unit na yan.
But truckers group expressed worry about the DOTR's statement, citing a department order that imposes age limit for public utility vehicles.
Kung totoo sila sa sinasabi nila that it should be the roadworthiness ang basis natin, then repeal, revoke 2017 Series 09. Bigay nila bukas and that's it, tapos na.
The DOTR, meanwhile, assures it is taking measures to address the problem on empty container congestion in the port area. The Philippine Ports Authority has earlier admitted there is indeed a congestion in the Manila port area, but it only has minimal effect on the economy. Mon Hocson, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Senate Majority Leader Juan Miguel Zubiri says the government may have to work on a reenacted budget at least until January of 2019. This is despite approval and a planned transmission on Monday of the House of Representatives of the 2019 General Appropriations Bill for its passage before the year ends. Zubiri says that due to time constraints, the Senate might only be able to approve it on third and final reading by December 12, which is the last day of the sessions before Congress goes on a holiday break. He says Congress may convene the Bicameral Conference Committee during the break to deliberate on the budget, but its ratification would still have to wait until the sessions resume in January.
At the very least, the week of January 14, 15, 16 is the ratification. So technically, magkakaroon tayo ng reenacted budget.
A song of praise for ASAP Year 2 Grand winner composer Boy Christopher is joining another competition with other seasoned songwriters in the country. Leslie Longbowen tells us why.
Professional composer Boy Christopher Ramos is the man behind the song Ikaw, the Song of the Year of A Song of Praise or ASAP Music Festival Year 2. Joining songwriting competitions is a joy for Boy Christopher. That's why the upcoming season of Wishcovery excites him very much. Boy will be one of the composer Wishcoverers in Mindanao.
Nandito ho magagaling pong composer. Abangan po ninyo ang gagaling. Magtatagisan po kami rito. Lalo na po yung mga singers dito.
According to Boy, selecting the singer that will represent his camp is challenging for him because there are a lot of good singers from the auditionees.
Malapit na pong magpakitang gilas yung mga talento sa buong Pilipinas. Talento na pinakamagagaling sa buong Pilipinas. Marami pong madidiscover dito na magagaling at dahil sa Wish, matutupad ang inyong mga wishes, yung inyong mga pangarap.
Wishcovery Season 2, the singer and the song will air on Wish 1075 YouTube channel starting November 26. Leslie Longbowan, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Up next on One News. UNTV exclusive, local government of El Nido shuts down a beachfront business violating the 3-meter easement zone policy. And the Department of Health cautions the public anew against self-medications and its hazards. Thank you for keeping me company in the first part of One News. More reasons behind the stories with Angelo, Castro III, and William Thio after this quick break.
Welcome back to Y News. We pick up from where Rheena Villamor-Camara left off. I'm Angelo Castro III, and here are the headlines. Nearly 500 families are evacuated from 27 villages in Surigao, Dinagat Island due to tropical depression Samuel. The Department of Health cautions the public anew against self-medication. And a UNTV exclusive, local government of El Nido closes down a beach resort for violating the 3-meter easement zone policy. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council remains on alert despite the slight weakening of Tropical Depression Samuel after it battered parts of eastern Visayas. Leah Ilagan tells us why.
Nearly 500 families from 27 villages in Dinagat Islands and Surigao provinces have left their homes due to the onslaught of Tropical Depression Samuel. The storm packed moderate to heavy rains, triggering flooding and landslide when it made landfall in Borongan and Daram in summer early Wednesday. Samuel slightly weakened after its landfall, but the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council remains on alert, particularly in areas that are on the storm's direct path. NDRRMC spokesperson Edgar Posada says this is to allow disaster teams to quickly respond to residents in need of assistance.
Yung OCD, personnel ng Operation Service, plus yung mga uniform services, plus yung mga essential forecasting like Pag-asa, yung dyan sila. So yung AFP, yung PNP, yung Bureau of Fire, tsaka Philippine Coast Guard, nagmo-monitor sila.
Posada says there are no reported casualties yet and many residents were immediately evacuated after receiving early warning messages from the agency.
Hindi tayo pwede magpabaya kasi hanggang merong isang buhay na nakalagay sa alanganin, patataasin pa natin yung ating pagbabantay at pagtutok.
Posadas assured the government has prepositioned food, non-food items and medical supplies in different points and allocated over 2 billion pesos standby fund for calamity victims. Disaster officials also urged the public anew to take seriously the early warning messages they send to mobile subscribers ahead of the storm's onslaught. Leah Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue, Camp Aguinaldo.
Tropical Depression Samuel threatens Cuyo, Palawan. Leslie Longboen is at UNTV Weather Center to tell us why. Leslie?
Yes, good evening. Tropical Depression Samuel is now over the Sulu Sea and is approaching the Cuyo archipelago. At 4 p.m. today, the center of Samuel was spotted 65 kilometers south-southeast of Cuyo, Palawan. It packs maximum sustained winds of 45 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 60 kilometers per hour and is moving westward at 30 kilometers per hour. Tropical Cyclone Warning Signal number 1 is raised over Romblon, Southern Occidental Mindoro, Southern Oriental Mindoro, Palawan, including Calamian and Cuyo groups of islands, Guimaras, Iloilo, Capiz, Aklan, and Antique. Moderate to heavy rains which may trigger flooding and landslides are still expected over Palawan, including Calamian and Cuyo groups of islands, Aurora, Quezon, Mindoro, Panay Island, and Guimaras. Pag-asa warns sea travel is risky over the seaboards of areas under Tropical Cyclone Warning Signal number 1, as well as the northern and eastern seaboards of Luzon. Samuel is expected to exit the Philippine Area of Responsibility or PAR between tomorrow evening and Friday morning. That's weather forecast. Back to the studio.
Thank you, Leslie Longboen, reporting from the UNTV Weather Center. The local government of El Nido shuts down a known beachfront business in El Nido, Palawan, amid inspection and self-demolition of structures erected on the easement zone. Grace Casin tells us why in this exclusive report.
The Nest El Nido Resort in Masagana Village is facing closure after the local government's Permit and Licensing Inspection Division denied its appeal for more time to comply with the requirements. Local officials say the resort was previously given 20 days to comply with the 3-meter easement zone policy. Parts of the resort, including its swimming pool, are affected on the easement zone. A team from the Permit and Licensing Inspection Division served the closure order Wednesday afternoon after the resort management failed to meet the deadline.
Kung ang violation namin siguro hindi naman siya nakaka-harm talaga sa tao. Kasi di ba ito lang naman yung easement eh. So siguro naman madadaanan pa rin naman ng tao kasi malawak pa yung ano. Tsaka hindi namin talaga alam kung saan yung pinakasukat talaga.
Pero sa amin ngayon ma'am, kasi kami ang na-orderan ng closure, mag-implement po kami. So ang gagawin po namin ngayon, ipapareceive po namin sa inyo yung sulat at maglalagay kami ng signage na close yung establishment.
Resort manager Juliet Templo stresses their appeal remains pending before the local government because they hold a title of the land and documents of the property they were ordered to demolish. The LGU has earlier ordered beachfront businesses to suspend their operations until structures that are violating the 3-meter easement zone policy have been demolished. According to Permit and Licensing Inspection Division, this is the 5th establishment they shut down since the rehabilitation of El Nido started. Of the 3,000 business establishments in El Nido, 68 were initially found to have violated the 3-meter easement zone policy. But as of now, only 15 businesses have yet to self-demolish. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, El Nido, Palawan.
The Department of Environment and Natural Resources is set to investigate reports on the alleged irresponsible disposal of wastewater to the sea from several households and business establishments in El Nido, Palawan. Kathy Magdalang tells us why.
Environment Undersecretary Jonas Leones is convinced that there is a clear violation of the Clean Water Act based on UNTV's exclusive report on an area in the villages of Buena Suerte and Masagana in El Nido, Palawan. The aerial shot of the area captured the murky water coming from a creek and heads directly to the sea. Leones says the Department of Environment and Natural Resources will immediately launch an investigation into the matter.
So, pwede silang after issuance ng notice of violation and then giving them time to rectify yung violation, kung hindi pa rin sila sumunod, they will be issued ng Pollution Education Board, ng DENR, ng closure order. Cease and desist order agad yan. Mabilis yan.
The official says they have already discussed the matter with representatives from the Department of the Interior and Local Government, the Department of Tourism, and the local government unit of El Nido. He adds that household and establishment owners violating the law will definitely pay a penalty up to 100,000 pesos a day until their violation is solved. In line with the ongoing rehabilitation in El Nido, Leones says several substructures that violated the easement policy in the area already opted to self-demolish. He notes there is already an outstanding order for all household and establishment owners to stop disposing wastewater directly into the sea.
Even then, even if wala pang action ng local government units, for violation of the Clean Water Act, the DNR or through the EMB can already act on those violations.
The rehabilitation is in response to the order of President Rodrigo Duterte, similar to his directive on Boracay Island.
Dapat ma-alarma na sila because this problem has already reached the President. That the President has already directed the 3 agencies to undertake rehabilitation and i-address na yung environmental deterioration sa island na yan.
The DNR warns that if irresponsible wastewater disposal continues, El Nido will turn into a cesspool like Boracay in only a matter of 5 to 10 years. Kathy Maglalang, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Former Philippine National Police Chief and resigned Bureau of Corrections Director Bato Dela Rosa is looking to push for the revival of the death penalty, intensified campaign against illegal drugs, and the welfare of the overseas Filipino workers if he is given a chance to win in his senatorial bid in the upcoming midterm elections. Joanano tells us why in this exclusive report.
He is being criticized for lack of knowledge and incompetency, but former Philippine National Police and Bureau of Corrections Chief Retired General Bato Dela Rosa wants to prove his critics wrong. In an interview with the program Get It Straight with Daniel Razon on Wednesday, Dela Rosa wants the public to give him the chance to prove his worth as he bids for a Senate seat in the upcoming 2019 midterm elections. His top priority is to revive death penalty, which he claims as the only solution to eliminate the illegal drugs menace in the country. Dela Rosa says he is inspired by his encounters with drug personalities during his stint as Chief of Police and as Director of the National Penitentiary.
Kinausap ko sila, yung mga convicted drug lords doon. Bakit sila, why do they insist on trafficking drugs in the Philippines. Yung mga foreigners, yung mga Chinese, Taiwanese, Hong Kong national. Ay, ang sagot naman nila is mas maganda dito daw sa atin because our laws are very weak. Mahina yung ating batas pagdating sa illegal drugs. We don't have death penalty. Whereas kung doon sila mag-traffic sa Singapore, sa
patay sila doon.
Malaysia, Indonesia, or Brunei, patay sila doon talaga. Sigurado patay sila, bibitayin sila. Kung doon sila mag-traffic. So dito, well,
kukulong ka lang.
Kulong ka lang.
Pagka nakulong ka naman, okay ka naman sa kulungan.
Pwede na naman
operate.
Lumaki pa yung mga drug empire na habang nasa loob.
May bantay ka pa sa labas.
Oo.
So,
He admits that detention is not enough to stop drug lords from establishing empires of drug trades because they can still operate even behind bars. Bato assures that his version of the proposal to reimpose death penalty would be fair to both the rich and the poor. The former Bucor chief also vows to address concerns of overseas Filipino workers, especially those experiencing abuse and are detained in other countries.
Kaya alam ko naman ng mga biktima lang rin itong mga FW na ito. Isa na, sabi ko nga, kung ako'y papalarin, sabi ko, hindi ito promise, kundi itaga mo sa bato. Itaga mo sa bato. Hahanap ako ng paraan talaga na mabigyan kayo ng kahit legal assistance man lang doon sa kanilang mga kaso.
Dela Rosa was criticized for allegedly lacking knowledge in inflation. The former police chief says he was just being true to himself.
pupunta ka ng Senado, tatanga-tanga ka naman sa ekonomiya, yung inflation, hindi mo alam. Ano gagawin mo dun?
Well, kuya, actually, nagpakatotoo lang ako. Hindi ako pwedeng magpa-plastic-plastika na kunyari alam ko lahat na hindi ko naman alam. So, actually, inflation, may alam rin naman tayo. Diyan hindi naman tayo totally ignorante, no? Dahil meron naman akong PhD, may Doctor of Philosophy ako on the Development Administration. Pag-aralan ko rin naman yan. Pero when it comes to experience, libro, iba yung theory at saka iba yung practice eh. Pwede ka man mag-tap ng services ng mga researchers para malaman mo talaga kung anong dapat mong gawin doon sa Senado.
John Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Department of Health cautions the public against self-medication, especially if dealing with antibiotic medicines amid increasing threat of antimicrobial resistance. Here's why from Michael Miguel.
Health Secretary Francisco Duque III calls on the public anew to do away with the self-medication behavior and go to the public health centers or private hospitals to consult and obtain the right prescription. Duque's call comes amid the increasing threat of antimicrobial resistance. The World Health Organization defines antimicrobial resistance as the ability of a microorganism to stop a microbial, such as antivirals, antibiotics, and antimalarials from working against it. Latest report on the WHO states that about 700,000 people die each year due to antimicrobial resistance. The WHO fears this number will rise to 10 million by 2050. The WHO says antimicrobial resistance is a serious global health concern as it compromises the ability to treat infectious diseases as well as undermines many other advances in medicine in both human and animal health.
Tanggalin natin yung self-medication behavior natin, ha? Kasi hindi naman po kayo mga nagpakadalubhasa o nag-aral para maging doktor at siguraduhin buuin ang pag-iinom nung niresetang gamot. Kasi kung hindi, magkakaproblema tayo dahil sa susunod na iinom kayo ng gamot na hindi niyo kinumpleto ang inuman ay mangyayari ho dyan, gagastos kayo na mas malaki dahil mas mabigat na gamutan ang mangyayari.
Health officials say a patient should strictly follow the doctor's prescription to avoid microbial resistance which occurs due to the misuse of antibiotics. A person suffering from colds and other common illnesses should also refrain from using antibiotics.
I see that many people believe that antibiotics are a general medicine that should be used whenever there's an infection, but that is not true. Antibiotics are very powerful drugs that need to be used very carefully and in a very targeted manner.
Aside from its effects to human health, the animal sector is also facing threats of antimicrobial resistance, as some small-scale poultry raisers tend to abuse the use of antibiotics. According to the Bureau of Animal Industry, some poultry raisers believe that the use of antibiotics in food will help their animals grow faster and bigger. The DA and BAI prohibit this practice as animals might become antimicrobial resistant and develop harmful diseases that might be transmitted to humans upon consumption. This is the reason why the Department of Health and the Department of Agriculture are planning to regulate the use of antibiotics in animals.
Although we have a list of all of the agricultural suppliers, they can freely sell. Hindi kasi there's no restriction as of the moment. We have no law banning the sale of antibiotics for animals. That's what we would want to have in the National Action Antimicrobial Plan.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Crime does not pay, and neither should anyone not with your hard-earned cash, gadgets, and even your life. The Philippine National Police says awareness is key to everything, so brush up and learn how to evade the latest kidnap robbery scheme of fast cash cons in this special report.
Have you ever been in this kind of situation?
Miss, may nagpapabigay po.
A Facebook post recently went viral after a social media user shared her story on the alleged new modus of kidnapper robbers. Based on the post, the victim, whose identity was withheld for security reasons, was walking home one night when she was approached by a stranger who gave her a piece of paper. She says the stranger walked with her and forced her to read the note despite her efforts to ignore him. The next material you will see is a reenactment of the story that was told by the victim herself.
This accident happened po last November 17 at 7:40 p.m. Galing akong office, which is very near lang sa main subdivision namin. Yung office po kasi namin sa may Mary Homes, din yung subdivision namin, San Miguel to lang siya. So walking distance lang po talaga siya and kayang-kaya lang talaga siyang lakarin. Ilang hakbang pa lang nung nalagpasan ko siya, tinawag na niya ako, saying na, ate, pinabibigay to. Then, inaabot niya sa akin yung paper. But of course kasi total stranger po, hindi ko siya in-entertain. But he insists, tapos hinabol niya ako para lang talaga maibigay yung papel na yon. Hindi ko siya hinintuan, nag-continue sa paglalakad para maiwasan ko siya. Pero kinalapit niya pa talaga ako para lang maibigay yung paper. Para lang sa isip ko, tumigil na siya and makalayo na ako sa kanya. Inabot ko na lang yung paper, then nagsalita ulit siya na hindi daw galing sa kanya yung papel at pinabibigay lang sa kanya sabay turo sa likod niya. Nung nilingon ko yung likod namin, wala naman pong tao. And nakakapagtaka lang, or maybe madilim lang talaga sa part na yon kaya hindi ko makitang may tao or wala. Nung inabot ko na po yung papel, expected ko natitigil na siya sa pagsunod sa akin. But I was so shocked nung habang naglalakad, nung tinuloy ko yung paglalakad ko, tumuloy din siya sa paglalakad. Kung baga sinusundan niya pa po talaga ako. Nung medyo tumapat na po kami sa may ilaw na parte ng kalsada sa tapat ng Villamor Trading, doon ko na po unang nabasa yung pinakababang sentence nung sa may letter niya, which is babarilin kita sa ulo. Yung letter, yung pagkabasa ko pa lang noon, parang malalaglag na yung puso ko sa kaba at parang mahihimatay na ako sa sobrang takot. Pero mas minabuti kong basahin lahat yung buong letter na ang nakalagay is huwag kang sisigaw, kapag sunigaw ka, babarilin kita sa ulo. At first po, syempre, yung reaction ko at yung naramdaman ko, sobrang takot at saka nervyos. Pero nagpretend ako na hindi ko muna siya nabasa or wala akong nabasa for me to be able na makaligtas or kung ano man yung balak niyang gawin. Habang sinusundan niya ako, nanginginig na yung tuhod ko sa takot at buti na lang bukas yung gasoline station na malapit sa may gilid ng barangay. Nung nakita ko yung dalawang gasoline boy sa gasoline station, nagkaroon ako ng pag-asa. Binilisan ko yung lakad ko while nakasunod pa rin siya sa akin. At kinakausap niya ako pero hindi ko na iniintindi yung sinasabi niya kasi mas importante sa akin yung makaligtas ako or makahingi ako ng tulong. They keep on asking anong nangyari, bakit ako umiiyak ng sobrang lakas or sobrang ano. Binigay ko na lang sa kanila yung papel, then tinuro ko yung lalaki. Pagkatingin namin sa may lalaki, nakatingin pa rin talaga siya.
The victim was extremely thankful she was able to evade the attempt of the man to rob and kidnap her. The Philippine National Police says a person should not accept anything from strangers, especially when they are walking alone at night. Police also advises to avoid walking alone on dark alley and streets, and if threatened, make a scene to grab the attention and get help from the people around you. One should also avoid wearing jewelries or bringing expensive gadgets to avoid becoming a target of robbers. One should also be alert at all times and be aware of the schemes of criminals and syndicates.
Dahil siyempre maraming pera yung mga tao pero yung mga pulis po natin is lalo nating pinapatingin ang ating police visibility patrol, ang ating mga checkpoints, and at the same time yung pagbibigay ng mga crime prevention tips sa ating mga kababayan, no? Kagaya yung crime prevention tips sa mga salisi, sa mga laglag barya, sa mga hold up, no? Budul-budel, meron pa nga dyan, chess, parang ganyan, di ba? Bundol, hold up, etc. Kaya nga maipayo natin dyan sa ating mga kababayan ay make yourself a hard target, no? Huwag tayong, we should be very smart and alert, no? Lalo na sa mga mataong lugar.
As the saying goes, crime does not pay, and neither should you. Not with your hard-earned cash, gadgets, and not even your life. Mon Hokson, UNTV, News and Rescue.
Up next on Y News. Mexico's incoming immigration chief weighs options for migrant caravan to stay in the country. A sperm whale that washed up in Indonesia found to have plastic bottles and bags in its stomach. And scientists make a significant breakthrough in the field of stem cell research. And those are the reasons behind the stories in the second part of our newscast. Y News returns with Thio. I'm Angelo Castro III. Good evening.